I'm Chris McCurdy. We were joking last night a little bit that if you go back to ground zero of research and science in the United States, I think I might be it. So we started working on this plant almost 20 years ago, long before it was even recognized by the DEA or the FDA, because we saw potential all the way back then. And so I want to bring you up to date from where we've come in those 20 years along a tremendous journey where we didn't know much. And in the last 5 years, we've been part of over $60 million worth of federal funding to investigate this plant and the medical potential. About $12 million of that came to the University of Florida directly under grants that I supervised, along with our team. And the other $50 million was at the National Center for Advancing Translational Sciences, or NCATS, who is moving towards the first clinical trial of mitragynine or mitragynine. That grant provided 5 kilograms of purified material in pharmaceutical grade that will go into clinical trials, hopefully in the next year. So we are looking at this from not only a botanical standpoint and the promise of the plant, but indeed we want to see if there is a true pharmaceutical path that could be pursued. So I'm not here to get rid of the plant from the commerce perspective. I want it to be accessible to everybody, always do, always have. Never has it been my intention to turn it into only a pharmaceutical product. However, just like we've seen with other plants and other compounds, we know that some of these compounds can be isolated and beneficial at a highly controlled clinical level as a pharmaceutical. So that to just say what we've been doing and where we're headed. The pictures that you can see on this slide above you are actually kratom trees growing in Malaysia on the very top. And at the bottom are kratom trees growing in Apopka, Florida, at the University of Florida. And so we have been able to replicate a lot of the work, a lot of the understanding of what's happening in Southeast Asia for scientific purposes at the University of Florida. And we have probably the most soup to nuts program in the world, investigating from seed all the way to consumer what is happening. And I'm very proud of the support that we've had of advocates, the industry, and the federal government to get to this point, and the state of Florida. Okay, so the obvious question that everybody first asks is kratom a threat or a therapeutic? Of course, we know, everyone in this room knows, but I'm gonna go backwards a little bit and make sure that on the record we have a good understanding of what the foundational start is. So is it a threat or is it a therapeutic? We know it's been anecdotally used for centuries, for chronic pain, for mood elevation, for energy, for opioid use disorder and alcohol use disorder now in the United States. More recently, we know that it has potential in stimulant use disorder, in lessening the ability of desire for methamphetamine. There are adulterated and contaminated products that have been reported, and that's put a black mark on the whole industry as a whole. There's claims that kratom is severely addictive and deadly. And our job as scientists is to figure out where all of these claims fall. So we know that there's potential benefit from a medical standpoint, but we know there's potential harm. And understanding where that line is vitally important in making sure that this product is used properly and safely. I've been able to consult with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration most recently on their single ascending dose trial, which I'm not going to speak about today, but I'm happy to answer questions on. I've spoken to the World Health Organization and the United Nations in briefings on this as well. And all of those agencies had looked at one time or another to ban kratom from either the United States or global. None of that has happened. And a good reason that none of that has happened is most of the people that are sitting at this table right here. The research that has been conducted that has shown some efficacy, and we can't say that it's entirely safe, and we can't say that it's entirely efficacious yet, but we're certainly getting closer to being able to make those statements with scientific validity. I don't do very much of this work. I direct a huge team, and I acknowledge them every time before I really get going. Because if it isn't for those folks, I wouldn't be able to talk to you and be able to share all the work that we've done. I'm not going to go through and name everyone. I would like to point out Scott Eggers here in the room. He's been very important in helping us put those trees in Apopka and really get our program off the ground from a horticultural standpoint. Kelly Dunn is another person that really helped us from the very early days. He funded our research before anyone else would, and really got us enough preliminary data to get things going. And then finally, Jeremy Stedding has been incredibly important in the whole process as a UF alum and as a supporter of our work as well. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to the National Institute on Drug Abuse and the taxpayers for funding so much of this work. So,
You gotta hit it hard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit it hard. So we all know Mitragyna speciosa. Something that people may not know is the whole genus Mitragyna was named after the fact that the leaf is shaped like a mitres hat or a bishop's hat. And so if you take that leaf and turn it 90 degrees counterclockwise, it is supposedly shaped like a bishop's hat, and that's where the genus got its name. Mitragyna speciosa is one of 10 species in that genus, and of course we know it's a member of the Rubiaceae family or the coffee family, and it's found in Southeast Asia. And I won't go through this because everybody in this room, for the most part, understands what we're here and what we're talking about. But what I do want to point out is something that is vitally important in terms of a difference, and that's kratom use in Southeast Asia. So the traditional use of this plant, and these pictures are pictures that I took when I was in Malaysia of a tree in the wild, and then up in the top right is once those leaves are plucked from the tree, they're quickly boiled into a decoction. It's not really a tea. That boiling takes place for 2 to 3 hours to try and extract as much of the alkaloids out of that. And then those alkaloids are packaged up in baggies or in plastic bottles that are sort of takeaway from the roadside stand that you see there in the middle, where folks can take those with them for their daily consumption. So it's not too different, if you think about it, from a coffee shop in the United States where someone will go and get their coffee for the morning. Many people stop by these roadside stands, which are completely criminalized and illegal in Malaysia, but they're there, and most people are dealing with that every day. So the tea is really utilized by these field workers for pain relief, for stimulant to improve their work capacity, to reduce their opioid withdrawal, because many of these rural farmers are actually using raw opium as their pain treatment, and when they run out of the access to raw opium, they actually increase their utilization of kratom juice, and they're able to avoid withdrawals. And that was really what pointed us in the direction of saying, hey, there might be something from nature that can help us in the opioid crisis, and opioids are from nature, and I've always believed that there's a balance in nature, and that there's a problem, there's a solution. We just have to be able to recognize where that is and find that. So leaves are chewed in Thailand, so it's a very different method of administration in Thailand. And then most kratom raw material in the USA, of course, is from Indonesia. So even though these are all in the southeast of Asia, you're still talking about differences in geographical regions. Almost, if we were to talk about wine regions of the world, we know that terroir makes a difference. And we've been fortunate enough to study plants from each of these areas. And one thing that's good is that the alkaloid consistency is there in all regions, including Florida and other commercial ventures that are in Hawaii. We know that the predominant agent, active agent that we believe is the predominant active agent is mitragynine, corinantha alkaloid. And then this is the picture of kratom use in the USA, which we know is very different. So we go from fresh leaf being consumed directly as it's picked off the tree to dried leaves, and you don't have to think too long and hard about it. But dried spices are different than fresh spices, and so you can certainly realize there is a difference. Current estimate in the USA is more than 15 million users. I think this was a number that came out in 2019, pre-pandemic. I think we're well over 20 million on a conservative basis. And I say that because every day I drive home, I pass 4 gas stations, and they always had CBD signs in them, but in the last couple of years, they all have kratom signs. So I know that it's become more mainstream. One of the things that we've tried to make a strong point about as a team of scientists is that not all kratom is equal, and there's an important distinction between native leaf and extract products. I like to look at it as we consider everything kratom, just like we consider the entire spirits industry alcohol. So you have products that are like seltzers or light beers, and you have products that are 190 proof Everclear. And now we're in that sort of realm in the kratom space, but we call everything kratom. We don't differentiate between those, and there's a significant difference between those. And I don't have time to go into that today. There's a lot of alkaloids that we've isolated over time, and we're studying those alkaloids, and I'm not going to go into science. But therapeutic potential, what we're really interested in is opioid detoxification. We're looking at medication-assisted therapy. So very much like buprenorphine or methadone, is this something that could be utilized to really help individuals transition off of hardcore opioid prescription or illicit use to something that's we consider to be much more effective, although I can't say that officially yet. Lack of real standardized products has made clinical trials very difficult. To try and get around that end, I need a new clicker. To try and get around that end, this was our efforts, as you already saw, at the University of Florida, growing trees. That's Brian Pearson, who most recently left our program and went to Oregon to head up a research station in Bend, Oregon, which kind of was a dream job for him to sit on the river and in the mountains and enjoy cherries instead of kratom. So we still, in fact, I met with him yesterday and I told him that he was going to be visualized today here. We have worked with our plant counterparts, and we have figured out many of the biosynthetic pathways within the plant. We have worked to develop the profiling of the leaves, and this is important. I think this is one of the most important things to talk about today. Is I had a student from Thailand that was working in our lab, and she taught us how to chew kratom leaf. And she made a very good point that I'd never realized before in all the time that I've been over to Southeast Asia. But they specifically go to the 3rd or 4th leaf bunch on the branch, leaves that are fully mature to chew. They won't chew the newly emerged leaves. And so I said, there's something scientifically there. And what we found, and it's hard to see in this slide, but what we found is once you get into those more mature leaves, the mitragynine concentration is maximum. In the early acute, or the very emerging leaves, another alkaloid, speciosialatin, is the most abundant. And why I say this is important today is because what we've seen in the marketplace is a shift in alkaloid content. Mitragynine is still the first and most abundant alkaloid. Speciosialatin used to be one of the least abundant. but now we see it as the second most abundant alkaloid. And what we think is happening, hypothetically, based on the science that we've done, is that the demand is so great that the suppliers can't keep up with the demand, and so they're harvesting less mature leaf material that's creating this change in alkaloid profiling. So why is that important at all? And I'll try to wrap this up quickly. Maybe you can advance the slides for me. You can skip this one. What's important is this is a snapshot of many commercial products that we've done in collaboration with Dr. Smith here, looking at a wide swath of the United States marketplace. And we haven't published this yet. We're actually up to about 360-ish samples that we've run through this from all over the United States. And what we found was that it's very consistent in the marketplace. The alkaloid profiling is very consistent. Mitragynine is the major thing. And importantly, that 7-hydroxymitragynine is almost non-existent now in the marketplace in material. And I think that a lot of our work helped to drive that, that desire to eliminate 7-hydroxy. However, as many of us know, if you can advance to the last slide, the market has seen an infiltration of 7-hydroxy isolate or 7-hydroxy synthetic components. And this is the first time that this is publicly being shown anywhere. What this is a fingerprint. We have fingerprinted what the alkaloid profiling looks like in native leaf of Kratom. And most products that we've tested, including extracts, meet this fingerprint. So that's on the left. And that big blue arrow on the left is where 7-hydroxy would be. 7-hydroxy is not present in the leaf materials. If we look at the graph on the right, that is a mass spec tracing of a 7-hydroxymitragynine tablet or product that's in the marketplace. And you can see that it's almost the most abundant thing there. But what is the most abundant thing there is mitragynine. And this is synthetically created from a mitragynine isolate or concentrate. And then there's several compounds in that tablet that we have no idea what they are. Meaning we have no idea what the harm could be or the risk or what's there. But anybody, including someone that watches Sesame Street, which one is different and which one is similar, you can definitely see that the one on the right is totally different than the one on the left. And this is concerning for all of us as scientists because this product is making a huge impact in the marketplace right now, and it is not Kratom. The bottom line is this is being marketed as a Kratom product, and as I said earlier, we lump all things together as being a product, and this is something that needs attention of authorities, and we've alerted many of them already, and we're working on putting out more information on what's going on with this. The last thing I will say is that what's frightening from this perspective is no forensic lab in the United States has the capability to search for 7-hydroxymitragynine. They all use mitragynine as the surrogate for kratom use. And if someone was to have an adverse event or overdose on this product, it will show it being Kratom because it only analyzes for mitragynine. So we're working with forensics, trying to change the way that forensic labs in the United States even look at these products to increase the analysis. And that's what I'd just like to leave you with. And I took way too much time, but I appreciate your attention.